This is like a little story time of how we got to the point of doing that little scene that some of you guys have seen of Charlie and I like dramatizing. As we didn't have costumes or anything, it was actually really casual, but you get my point. The scene where the Pharisees, the priests and Levites, sorry, were asking John the Baptist who he was. So it all started. And by the way, for context, a lot of people have been asking us, like, can we do some kind of like behind the scenes, like how we, teach Charlie? But that's really tricky because this is happening like along the way of life. This is happening like throughout the day in a really natural way, kind of like what I envision when I read Deuteronomy 6 and it's telling us to like teach our kids the, precepts or the commandments of God as we sit and as we walk along the way. Like that's kind of how we do it. It's like we're sitting on the couch, we're taking a walk outside, I'm doing the dishes, I'm playing the audio Bible or whatever. So it's kind of hard to capture, but that's just to give you a visual, like that's how we do it. So my little story, right? So I was on my way, a long drive, picking up Thomas from work. Now, usually if Thomas is in the car with me, we will chit chat the whole way to wherever we're going. We like to ask each other questions. Sometimes we pull them off the internet. Sometimes we use cards, like whatever. We ask each other questions. And one day I was listening to something selfishly, maybe a podcast or something that I like to listen to. And I just felt like, because Thomas wasn't there, and I just felt like, well, Charlie's here, and like Charlie's just always stuck listening to whatever mommy wants to listen to. Sometimes I play music for him. Very often I play music for him that he wants, but also I play things for myself. And I was just like, well, maybe I should try talking to Charlie as well, So I Googled questions to ask a 3-year-old or whatever, but I didn't find the questions captivating, I guess. Like some of the questions were too just not my taste. Let's say like questions like, oh, what's your favorite color? Like, I don't really care, to be honest. He may not even know what his favorite color is, and he doesn't also have to have a favorite color. That was like a thing that we did growing up, like your favorite boy band, member, your favorite color, your favorite this, your favorite that. And I remember like I chose my favorite color to be yellow simply because most people didn't choose yellow. Everyone chose like blue or red or like some, and I just chose it to be different. And I would say that so that I had an answer when someone asked me what my favorite color was, but it wasn't actually for any particular reason why I chose the color. So, and the questions about monsters or aliens or like things that are fictional, like things that to me are of no consequence, just who cares? And then the other questions were kind of like, okay, like is my 3-year-old going to be able to answer this? But I was like, okay, well, let me just have a try. So one of the questions that came to mind to ask after like looking things up a little bit was like ask about my child's personality and character. Like, who are you? Like, so I just like, you know what? Let me ask him, who are you? So I was like, Charlie, who are you? And he said, I am not the Christ. It just goes to show, we had been listening to the book of John a lot. And so he just spoke out of what is in him. Side note on this, like just to keep it real, like I did start the book of John with him. I would read it. I would open my Bible, start reading aloud and like follow line by line with my finger and to help him track where I'm reading. And then he would volunteer to read and we would both read. And then I started the audio Bible. We used for people who want to know, we used the NKJV. I tend to lean just to stay with one version. So we chose NKJV. I feel like it's good for memory, for Bible memorizing. And so I just try to like keep everything NKJV just for like uniformity or whatever. They have a dramatized NKJV on YouTube. You can just Google John NKJV, Mark, whatever book you're looking for. So I played that for Charlie and he loved it and he asked, to hear it again. So it's like listening to an audio story or something, so we would listen and listen. And I admit, like at a certain point I was tired. Like I was like, okay, maybe we should listen to First Corinthians. Maybe we should listen to, the gospel according to Matthew, something else. But then I was like, well, he's starting to catch on. Like I would notice him repeating parts. So I was like, okay, and this is where patience comes in. Like you have to be patient. Like it's okay to stay in the same book for months, like for weeks, so that it can really sink in. And I was noticing the benefit to myself as well. The more that we read it, I'm starting to notice different things. I'm also starting to memorize or remember a little bit more of what I read from this particular book, the Gospel according to John. So as much as I was tempted, and I do like on rare occasion listen to something else with him, but 90% of the audio Bible that we listen to right now is the Gospel according to John, because I see that he's so sort of invested in it at this point that I'm like, okay, I have to keep going. So back to the, the car conversation. When I realized that he was doing that, I thought it was funny, but I think I put it out of my mind. And then when we were home, I don't know if I told Thomas the story. I don't even remember how we got back on this, but we did it again. And then he had it more memorized than I did. So I had to open the Bible. We were in bed. I remember this vaguely, but yeah. And I had to open the Bible to like remember the responsive lines or whatever, so that we could do like a back and forth dialogue. And then eventually I memorized it because I saw that he was good at it. So, and that's the story of how we ended up doing that little scene. He knew the whole entire thing, but I just came in to make it more of a dialogue so that it wasn't just like a monologue, because it is actually a dialogue in the book. So for him to recite the whole thing is cool, is wonderful, but also like to kind of, I guess, teach him something new in terms of like doing a back and forth. So it's kind of like the beginnings of doing like a play or, a theater or something like that. So I thought it was just a different way of approaching Bible memory or storytelling or whatever. And like, I didn't set out with this idea. God just like shows us things, right? So if we are observant enough of our children, he just gives us ideas. And it's not like I'm like the most amazing parent. There are parents who go beyond me, who every Easter they put on like a whole performance and they give their kids costumes and they, like we're not that excellent or that, I don't know, but we just do to our level, it reminds me of when we were talking about our flashcards for the New Testament. Our flashcards are not pretty. They're not colorful. They're literally plain white flashcards with black permanent marker. Like, it's written by hand. There's nothing fancy about them. I say all this to say, to kind of encourage you, if you're taking anything away from this, is like, you don't have to do it perfectly. You don't have to set out already knowing exactly what the outcome is supposed to be or how it should be done. And you don't have to hold onto things rigidly. Hold everything with loose hands. Observe your child as much as you can. Be prayerful. Let the Holy Spirit lead and guide you. Right? Jesus said he'd send us a helper. So trust the Holy Spirit to guide you as a parent about how to, educate your child, how to do what he's even commanded you to do, right? Because it's God who commanded us to teach our children. So if he commanded it, then he will help us to do it. He will empower us. So that's my longer than I expected story. But hopefully it was a blessing and you got something out of it.